Okay, so I'm here with Ian Frampton, parenting lead for the University of Exeter within the Southwest CYP IAPT Collaborative. Ian, I wanted to ask you about your experience of working with the voluntary sector within your CYP IAPT programme. What is it that you've done exactly?
Okay, so I think we made a decision at an early stage from the university end as the HEI that we wanted to, in the collaborative, work very closely with the voluntary sector. So it was our starting point with the third sector. So I guess in terms of initially bid writing, when we were establishing the collaborative between our delivery partners and us, kind of looking around to see what was already out there that was good, and we were very fortunate that within Devon, for example, Devon CAMS have for a few years now had a participation worker, funded worker in place. We've done a lot of work with young people, with service users in terms of their involvement in interviewing, selection, and so on. So for us as an HEI, our priority is the curriculum delivery, design and delivery aspect. So we wanted to have early conversations with voluntary sector partners about their involvement in both selecting trainees, but also in terms of what the curriculum would look like and how we could deliver it in a kind of meaningful way that kind of made sense to them, but also cover the things that they thought were important.
Okay, and what is it that's made your partnership with Young Devon in particular? What's made that work?
Yeah, so Young Devon, I think what's great about Young Devon is that they have great street cred. Because they are in a Devon, large rural county, and within that we've got so rural Devon, we've got Exeter, we've got Plymouth, Torbay, so a range of different kind of locations. And Young Devon are already out there on the ground, well known, and they're very credible, community-facing, kind of as an organisation, so that young people kind of recognise them as a kind of place you would go, but wouldn't necessarily frame that in mental health terms, or certainly not in terms of DSM diagnoses of mental health difficulties. That actually, if you've got an issue or you've got something you need some help with, Young Devon have a kind of place that you can take those sort of questions to. So for us, they're the perfect starting point actually within this, because we recognise that specialist CAM services always are going to sit at the top of our kind of pyramid in terms of accessible services, and that most young people would need something a different, maybe at a lower level, that might be more preventive and save them having to come into a highly specialist tier 3, tier 4 service. So
okay, so thinking about that experience of working with an organisation that maybe has street cred and so forth, what would be your advice, I suppose, to other collaboratives or individual partnerships around how they might want to go about approaching or working, or what to look for in the voluntary sector partner?
Yeah, I think the first step is really making sure you've identified who's out there already, because I think it's fair to say that we're lucky in the sense that we have Young Devon as a clear lead partner for us in the Southwest, in this part of the Southwest anyway, but that actually we recognise there's a range of third sector, voluntary sector organisations, often doing quite specific pieces of work, maybe with young mums or with around drug and alcohol services and so on. And actually, one of the things that was really useful for us was that one of our local services had already done a kind of mapping exercise where they'd actually identified what third sector services were out there delivering what kind of interventions. And so we had a kind of a directory of who to work with. So I would say that's a really important part of the process. And of course, involve young people in that process. Don't do it yourself. Get young people to do the service, to do the mapping, to find out what's out there, because that then gives you a starting point in terms of how to engage meaningfully with those organisations in part of this bid writing process.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you very much.
Sure.